Well, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Morning Glow. Welcome to another episode of The Morning Glow. Got a great broadcast lineup for you this morning, and he's in the building. He's in the building, y'all. There you go, right there. In case you don't see him, Captain Leonard. Good morning. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, Raheem. Morning Glow family.
Hey, how's everything going with you, brother?
Things are going just great.
Good deal, good deal. I gotta ask you, man. We usually come to. I can't even talk this morning. I don't know what the world that's all about. Maybe it's the coffee kicking in. The coffee kicking in, boy. To kick me like Bruce Lee. It kicked me this morning. But Leonard, what's going on in the political world, brother? What's going on? What is abreast?
Well, they're still working on these infrastructure plans and fighting about it in Congress. And like I said before, the main concern is that people should understand there's a side that's pro people, and then there's a side that's pro corporation.
Mm-hmm.
People need to understand. I know you're living good, you can pretty much take care of yourself and pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the major things you should remember, if you are under $500,000 in annual income,
Mm-hmm.
you are not middle class.
Wow. Wow.
So you got
Hold
to
on.
think about it.
You said 500,000?
Right. Middle class is around $500,000
Mm,
annual income.
good Lord.
Then and then you're not comfortable
Mm-hmm.
in the middle class. You're at the bottom of the middle
Mm-hmm.
class.
Mm-hmm.
So when people are talking to you about issues in politics as it relates to jobs and housing and all these types of things, where you can put yourself in, where is it going to benefit me? Well, what is your income? How is your
Mm-hmm.
income going to be affected? How your opportunities going to be affected? The majority of people making a substantial amount of money usually are those individuals who have probably education, they
Mm-hmm.
have a business venture at least, and they have a healthy savings account.
Wow.
And so these are the things you should use to measure in politics on how certain things affect you as far as taxes. When people say they raising our taxes, well, if they're raising taxes on people who are not paying their fair share, that's not a bad
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
However, if they are raising taxes on people who are barely eating,
Mm-hmm.
that's an issue.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're raising taxes on people with fixed incomes, that's
Mm-hmm.
an issue. This
Mm-hmm.
is what how gentrification and all we hear people losing their houses. Well, there's a difference between losing your house and losing an apartment. You don't
Mm-hmm.
own an apartment.
Absolutely.
You can't borrow money against your rental apartment.
Mm-hmm.
The rental is not a part of your wealth. Your home is. So if my home is paid for, when you hear about people being pushed out of their communities, usually it is because of increasing taxes, right? Or
Mm-hmm. Come on.
or eminent domain.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big issues here in Atlanta with the mayoral race is the number of people losing their homes who are born and raised, have businesses and everything in the city of Atlanta. However,
Mm-hmm.
they may live in a particular area where eminent domain is being used to remove them from their homes.
Let's take some a minute this morning, and let's this be a teachable moment.
Mhm.
Explain to the people that may not know. And I'm quite sure a lot of people do know what it is, but explain to them what eminent domain. What exactly is that in the clearest, in the calmest or the plainest form? What is it?
Well, locally, eminent domain is the ideology that whatever the land is being used for now,
Mm-hmm.
what our agenda is to make it even more useful to the city.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say, for instance, your particular home happens to be in the way of a major development.
Mm-hmm.
The city may vote that by eminent domain, we must secure your property. We can
Mm-hmm.
offer you fair market value for it. That's what they say up
Mm-hmm.
front. But what has been found out is that African Americans are usually offered a lot less
Yes, absolutely.
for their properties and things of that nature. And if the person still refuses, then you start being attacked by the city code enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
city may come and say something about your property doesn't meet their standards.
Mm-hmm.
So you have such and such time to paint or do whatever, this, that, and the other.
Wow.
And if you don't,
And
we're
it's just a way
going
of
to
force.
assume ownership of
Mm-hmm.
your property.
Mm-hmm. And basically, what that is just a way of forcing you out. Basically.
Well, one, I don't care for that type of language.
Mm-hmm.
Either you're going to fight or you're going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to fight and keep your property, cool.
Mm-hmm.
But if you sell your property, no one's forcing you to do so.
Mm-hmm.
No
No, no,
one's
no.
forcing
What I
you to
meant
do
was
that.
no. What I meant when I say forcing you out is if they say they put all these things on your property and say you don't meet this code, you don't meet that code, only after they try to make you sell and you just decided that you didn't want to uproot your family, uproot your history or whatever it is, and move, and then they start putting these stipulations on it. Well, if you don't get this up the code or you don't get that up, that's what I meant when I say forcing you out. Would you agree
Well,
with
I
that?
mean, I don't use that language. And,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I prefer displaced
Okay.
because
Okay.
forcing is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
These are actually rules and laws in your area that provide for this. The
Mm-hmm.
issue is you were not concerned about that when you were voting. You were, the older people understand it because
Mm-hmm.
they have invested in their homes. And once
Mm-hmm.
your home is supposedly paid for, you shouldn't have anything to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Shouldn't
But the
have.
problem is the fact that once your home is paid for, if someone agenda changes in politics,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? We want this area and it's necessary. We got to get these people out of these houses. How are we
We're gonna
going to
build
do that?
we're gonna build a big parking lot over here and your house is in the way, basically.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
usually, uh, fair market value is offered for your home. That's what
Mm-hmm.
developers and corporations do. When they want to buy up an area, they get people to sell. You selling your home is your choice.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to sell, don't sell. But you had better not be violating any issue or criteria in that area. Like, say, for instance, if your tree limbs are hanging over the sidewalk, for instance,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
causing a quote, say it's blocking view, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
the city may just come by and say you have a certain amount of time to rectify that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't rectify it, we're going to charge you every day until you rectify it. And then
Yep.
before you notice, you got a lien on your property
Mm-hmm.
in some places. But what
Mm.
the city uses what a government uses is eminent domain when all else fails. And
So
that
base
is a, go ahead.
so basically, and I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm just trying to play both sides here. Basically, that's just a dirty way, a conniving way of taking your property from you.
No, they're going to take it for the exact reason that it's written that they can take it for,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what you allowed them to write.
Mm-hmm.
Now, had you go in and force the people who make these rules in your city council adhere to a particular law
Mm-hmm.
that prevents that,
Mm-hmm.
that's how government works. You can
See,
call it what you want, but it
and
is
what I
written.
hear what I keep hearing you say, Leonard, and I'm going back to it for a reason. But what I keep hearing you say is we have the power if we just take grasp of the power and move these people out that's not doing things that we need them to do in our
Right.
community. We have. I'm hearing you say. I heard you say a couple of times. We have the power.
Yes.
Why isn't it? Why isn't it exercised then?
Well, a lot of people don't want power.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody don't want control. They'd rather give that responsibility to someone else. So, it ain't my fault where you're at in life.
Mm-hmm.
But what you should at least do is check your environment, where you live. If where
Mm-hmm.
you live is crime infested and all these types of things and it's dangerous, what are you doing to
Mm-hmm.
fight that? You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Exactly.
So
I
it's
got
one
this.
thing to complain about crime, and then the people committing the crimes are your children.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Wow. Mm-hmm. I found this clip. I've been looking for this clip, man, and it was sent to. I said something about it, and it was sent to me. Somebody real close to me sent it to me, man, because I shared it with them, and I had lost it or they had taken it down. But this is the thing I was talking about Mr. Kasim Reed, where this young lady
Mhm.
confronted him. I want to play this, and
And
Leonard,
that's not a young lady.
well, I call all of them young lady. The lady could be 100 years old.
Hmm.
I call it young lady. Um, but I want to play this real quick, and get your response to it, Leonard. Here we
Hmm.
go. And I know you've seen it.
Yeah.
Thank What I'm going to do is apologize to you from my heart. I made the best decision that I could make at the time because we were worried about severe weather events killing people. That was the best information that we had at the time. We made the best judgment based upon the information that we received in regard to flooding. And that's what I was trying to do. So I want to apologize to you. And I hope that if I am ever in position as mayor again, that I will be able to treat you and your husband fairly and better than we did. But I apologize to you and your husband tonight. And what you just shared has affected me deeply. And I hope that we will be able to make it better. Thank you, Mrs. Darden, for that question. And I felt it would be a thank you.
Leonard, what did you hear?
BS.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Absolutely.
that's just what it is. You made
Mm-hmm.
what was the decision was made was in the best interest of those people who want to acquire the land and the
Mm-hmm.
homes where this singer is mentioned. This singer is mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
They've lived in those communities forever, but there has been a serious effort to uproot the community that was there previously to replace them, to
Mm-hmm.
replace them with new developments and things of that nature that would be priced out of their ability to pay, even if they decided to stay in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
Imminent, like say for instance, you could use something as simple as, well, we don't think people should be flood insurance, for instance. It's very expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Some places are not even. Um, it can be so expensive, and then if you're forced to carry that insurance and you can't afford that insurance, then they may just declare where you live unsafe to live, and
Mm-hmm.
that area would be better suited for a different purpose. So if you still don't want to move, then that last frontier is eminent domain.
Mm-hmm.
For the good of the state, we're going to compensate you how we see fit,
Mm.
and we're going to force you to be out.
Wow.
But if you have a great enough community who want to fight to stay, then you have to make those things known. That's why it's glad that she was there. Now, after that happened, it was like a media slam on Kasim Reed,
Yes, it was.
and that
Absolutely.
really dropped his polling numbers
Mm-hmm.
because of
Mm-hmm.
that. Because we know one of the big issues related to a certain corridor of Atlanta is displacing those people who have lived there
Mm-hmm.
and moving in business, and increasing the prices of the land there. The value of the land has skyrocketed for people, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody's not interested in selling their home.
Exactly.
And
And
so
see,
we go ahead.
and that's the thing, Leonard, and that's the part that's really disheartening to me. And I know business is as business does, and government gonna do what government gonna do. But at the same time, you have this young lady, and again, I say young lady, she had to be about maybe about 67, 60, 70 years old, and she probably lived in the house majority of her life, if not all her life, and to just come in and just uproot her and then lie to her, then have your engineers to go to court and lie in court about
Mhm.
and fabricate the truth in court to get her out. Man, I mean you going to some depths there, man. That
Yeah,
I mean you can recover from. But this what about this young lady, 60, 70 years old, man, having to start all over again? What about where's your heart for her? There is none.
there is none. That's the point. There
Mm-hmm.
is none. Now, that is probably the most humble you're ever going to see Kasim Reed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He don't. Some people don't mind apologizing to you for the wrong that they do. But
Yeah.
so what?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway,
Mm-hmm.
regardless. That's eminent domain.
Yeah. Mm.
I hear you, but I'm going to take care of business.
Yeah. Unfortunately, casual.
That's what I heard.
So basically, truth of the matter, she was just lack of a better term, she was just a casualty of war. This is what's gonna happen. We're
Mhm.
gonna take your property, and I feel bad that you feel bad about it, but we're still gonna take your property. Let me
And
get
you
a
have
phone
to, yeah, go ahead.
508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. Give us a call. We love to hear you. 508-924-3521. And this 508-924-3521. Make sure I get that clear. Leonard, this thing is heartless, man. Go ahead, brother. You know, you got the floor today, Leonard, because this is your area, man. So I'm leaning on you. So talk to me. Educate me.
Well, I mean, I think that people have to understand that what is at play and how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was okay. Now they're doing it in secret.
Mm-hmm.
Then the issue was, well, now they got all these strategies to keep us from giving input.
Mm-hmm.
Then when things became more open or what have you, certain metropolitan cities are always in an uproar. Atlanta is one of those issues
Mm-hmm.
because of wherever you live in a major city or what have you, you're always going to be looking for development.
Mm-hmm.
Development, a lot of times, is what motivates people to run for public office, not your best interest,
Mm-hmm.
unless that's their platform.
Yeah.
Every politician's platform is not in your best interest. I don't care what
Mm-hmm.
color they are. Listen to what they're saying. There are a lot of other mayoral candidates are pushing the marginal benefits of electing them mayor by helping them work on solutions that don't displace people,
Mm-hmm.
working on solutions to certain issues that satisfy both sides, or
So
coming
basically,
to an agreement so that the people grow with the city as
mm-hmm.
opposed to being replaced by other people, not
Mm-hmm.
from the city.
So
So,
trying to teach them how to have a heart.
right. And a lot of people's, your usually your land and your home and everything is a substantial part of your wealth. So if you got to remember, if the average loan back then was about 30 years
Mm-hmm.
and you 70, most of those people own those houses. They don't care how much they were.
Mm-hmm.
They're not selling.
Mm-hmm.
There is an emotional and sentimental value. And then, these are people that can go just rush back into the work market to make more money to pay the higher taxes and things just to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they have to make a decision on if your fixed income, and let's say your income for your housing is 25% of your income,
Mm-hmm.
30% you may not be able to afford
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're not getting any additional money.
Mm.
Remember, you're a senior. You ain't really working for nobody.
Exactly.
You're probably retired.
Mm-hmm.
Your check is probably the same. Every month you had it set up, saved it just great.
Mm-hmm.
But now somebody comes along with a plan that makes you want to completely uproot your dream,
Mm.
your legacy to leave to your children. So this is one of the biggest issues. Like she says, where are we going to go? Because they
Mm-hmm.
can't afford to live
Exactly.
anywhere else. And wherever else they live, they probably are going to have less than what they have now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Downgrade.
going to cost more.
Got to downgrade. They have to downgrade. And see, a lot of times, especially with my seniors, and I know you've heard stories about it as well. They're penny pinching a lot of times just to get their when they need medication or they're on medication or something like that. They have to make a decision. Am I
Mhm.
gonna eat this meal that I really like, or am I gonna scale back on this meal, get something that's gonna fill that void so I can afford my medication?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, it's not their income doesn't increase,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but the cost of things does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So things start to cost more and eat up your disposable income. So
Mm-hmm.
you're living check to check.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the greatest things I guess about about the old idea of owning a home was securing a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole purpose of owning it for those people from that era. The new agenda is not that. The way people live now is not that. It's boom, get in, boom, get out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
say, for instance, some people have love for the city that they live in. Some people don't. I'm not attached to a city.
No.
I never have been. I mean, but you
Mm-mm.
have some people, that's their dream. They invested in where they at. They started
Mm-hmm.
careers. They raised their children. They were in the school systems, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And what they want to do is pay for this home so that their kids will always have a place to live. And such, but however, if somebody comes along and say, especially in the case of African Americans, take this amount. It's
Mm-hmm.
lower. It's even lower than the value.
Mm.
And then if you won't take that amount, then we're going to come direct you and just start harassing you. Or then we're going to come and change the rules and the laws. And they're going
Mm-hmm.
to go after certain behaviors and things like that, especially people with junk in their yard.
Mm-hmm.
You know how some people just seem to just put everything out in the yard.
Exactly. Exactly.
Then they're going to go after that and cite you for,
Mm-hmm.
the way your property looks. And then they can say you got to clean it up by a certain date. Well, what if you're so old and you can't?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then they hit you with fines each and every day you out of compliance. You
Mm.
can't afford that.
Mm.
So now you have to make the decision. Do I take the money that they give me? And then if I take it, is that going to be enough money for me to go somewhere else? Remember, that money
Yeah.
going to run out unless you
Exactly.
invest it or what have you. But if your
Mm-hmm.
house is worth a certain amount, where else you going to stay? That house probably going to cost just as much
Mm-hmm. Or in this economy more because
or
it's a self.
more.
Yeah, it's a seller's market right now. And so,
Right.
man, I know people, and this is a little bit changing the subjects a little bit, but I got a friend of mine. They just sold their house and bought another house. They said they was in trying to find the house that they wanted. Man, they went through about 9 or 10 houses, man, overbidding on the house by a lot, overbidding, but they never got the house they wanted, man, because people was coming in and spending almost double just to get the houses.
Exactly, which is another issue.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
Mm-hmm.
know if it's another person or a
Whether it's
corporation.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
See, the agenda for this is the reason why it's happening. And you
Mm-hmm.
let those people with those types of agendas sit in authority in your city,
Mm-hmm.
and these are the type of decisions that they make.
Yep.
They
Mm.
need poor people's votes,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily their opinions.
Or them.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Wow.
so that, I mean, I hope that's not new information for
Mm-hmm.
people listening today,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to know your enemy in order to defeat your enemy.
Exactly. And Leonard, you got this saying, man. I done clipped it on my belt. I done clipped it on my belt, man. You said it, and you know I love it, man. You say the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yes, because
The
it is a fight,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you need allies,
Mm-hmm.
not opinions.
Mm-hmm.
You
Exactly.
need allies to fight against the system, especially if it's not working for you. So people have to understand. I mean, it just boggles my mind when I hear people still being against voting or not participating. So when you don't vote and don't participate, no one takes into consideration your interest. If your interest is keeping seniors in their homes, then the candidates you vote for should have a plan for that. But if you sit back and do nothing, you'll let people right back in office that insist on displacing you out of certain areas, which we see is one of the main issues in most cities. Whether it's, I guess, one of the new names is probably closer to urban renewal or what have you, but they've had plan after plan after plan, even from the establishing of the first projects. And everybody has learned that it does not benefit a city to have projects where you're trying to attract business and development. It's it's not in the city's best interest to create areas in the city that are not taxable or where they can't gain income revenues. So they need folks in those areas that are willing to pay higher prices. Higher prices bring higher taxes, and those taxes are the revenue to your local government. So if I can take someone who is providing the city, let's say, with $1,100 a year in taxes, and replace that with someone that pays $10,000 a year in taxes, then I'm going to align my agenda with those people paying more, that I can collect more through taxes to increase revenue for that particular city. When you look at the different types of things, you have some people born and raised in the city, and when they were coming up, the trend was to move out to the suburbs. Well, what has happened now is that is cyclical nature. And so now we're at the point now where those people who once upon a time were out in the suburbs want the city back. So you've
Mm-hmm.
seen that behavior to move people back to the city. One
Mm-hmm.
of the big things that new activists need to understand, that whole race thing is played out
Mm-hmm.
from a practical point of view. For the
Explain that
very
to
simple fact that the
me.
people that are acquiring these new living spaces
Mm-hmm.
are younger black people
Mm-hmm.
with the ability to pay these higher prices because of their education and their jobs and what they can afford and their desire to work and play in the same areas.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll move into your, like you say, I remember there are some places that were just slums before when I got here.
Uh-huh.
Places where folks just stored garbage.
Mm-hmm.
$500,000 homes there now.
Wow.
That's a
Wow.
development plan that took
Mm-hmm.
time. It took election cycles. So if you don't vote for candidates that are trying to help you preserve what it is you have acquired, trust me, the
Mm-hmm.
other side is working on separating you from that.
Exactly. Exactly. Leonard, I lived in Augusta for 2 years, and there was this big thing going on. There was a section in Augusta. I can't remember the name of it right now, but there was a section in Augusta whereas they had came in, somebody come, some corporation or whatever had come in, and they put chemicals or whatever they in the land, in the soil, and it pours and it pours in the soil and affected the people in a terrible way. And people was dying, man. People was dying from whatever they put in that soil, man. And they were trying to move the people out and do different things, but it was too many people. What is that called, man?
That's environmental racism.
Mm.
And it can oftentimes be used against people for certain reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Flint.
Yeah,
Flint,
exactly. Exactly.
Flint,
Yeah.
Michigan in the water crisis.
Mm-hmm.
They had an excellent deal with water from somewhere else. Pricey, but they could afford it. And it's clean water. You need clean water.
Mm-hmm.
But someone had an agenda. First of all, we had to convince people that for some reason you already had mayors, but now you need city managers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wait a minute. If the people elected the mayor, have you ever been to a city manager election?
Never.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
And never will there be one.
Mm-hmm. How are they
A,
elected?
ci- a city manager is appointed and used to do the bidding of the person that appointed them.
Mm.
This is what happened in Flint. And what they were
Mm.
doing to many cities in Michigan at the time, replacing specifically predominantly black areas where those mayors were African American
Mm-hmm.
to usurp the authority from the mayor. Because maybe that particular mayor did not want to go along with someone else's agenda. So
Mm-hmm.
they sent a city manager. And what did that city manager do in Flint? Change the deal on where they got the water.
Yeah.
Did the
Mm-hmm.
damage that he was supposed to do and moved right along.
Mm.
See, that's what
Have,
people have to understand. The fight is real.
mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
It's not just something people are unhappy about. It is affecting people in a serious way. Some people are dying,
Mm-hmm.
getting sick, they're having to relocate. It's just horrible the way some agendas disenfranchise those people who are local to that area
Mm-hmm.
and who I don't keep up. Like, say, for instance, we gonna build a dump in your backyard.
Mm.
What? How much my property value decrease if there's a landfill in the backyard?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They don't build them in certain areas,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay? Because some people they don't want to feel uncomfortable,
Exactly. Exactly. And would not allow you to do so.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
historically, they've built highways through very progressive areas,
Mm-hmm.
which have completely dried up business on certain parts of town. And now the game is to only allow certain types of people to move into certain areas. So you have all of these programs that the business community donates money to, and then call it a new housing program so they can pick and choose who they want to live in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
We know how to do certain things. We'll just say the cheapest house here will be 450,000.
Yeah. And that's eliminating a big group of people.
Yeah. Well,
That's
then you
eliminating.
got people fighting. Well, we need more affordable housing and blah blah.
Mm.
Okay. Okay, I tell you
Mhm.
what, make it 400,000. Let me
Mhm.
knock 50,000, 400.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
We're gonna do that.
affordable housing. That's the
We're gonna do that
discount
just for you.
for
Just for you.
people who can already afford.
Yeah.
That's a discount.
Mhm.
Now the low income people usually live by subsidy,
Mhm.
whereas you have different types of programs that help uh, pay them for whatever arrangement they have, whether it be rent or mortgage assistance.
Mhm.
Usually, remember, mortgages are contracts that are usually pretty much solid contracts with
Yeah.
proper property ownership, but you don't
Mhm.
have any control over the rent. But then there's a fight about affordable housing even in the rental market, because affordable housing in a downtown market may be $1,000 a month for a one bedroom.
Mhm. Yeah.
That may be affordable.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the conversation ain't for low income people.
No. Has nothing to do with them.
It's for the
No,
people
nothing.
who have that money anyway,
Mhm.
or they're willing to live their budgets and spend all of their money on housing. I think on the average, a good housing should take up about 25% of your budget.
Mhm.
If you're going to budget money out for housing, take 25% of whatever you make. That 20 to 25% is what goes towards your housing,
Mhm.
whether it
Okay.
be rent, home
Mhm.
ownership, or what have you. It's how you pay for
Mhm.
where you live.
Mhm. Okay.
Now imagine if your budget's so tight, but guess what? What if your budget is so tight? Yeah, you can afford the space,
Mhm.
but can you afford the electricity? Can you
No.
afford the water?
Insurance.
Can you afford all the extra fees and
Mhm.
things that may be that may be assessed?
Mhm.
Remember, affordable is for people who got money.
Yeah.
Low income is for people who don't have money.
Mhm.
That's the biggest difference.
Mhm.
So you have to understand I'm a person that is more about a mix of things,
Mhm.
because it makes no sense to build projects in cities anymore. That's dumb.
Mhm.
You want to use your city land where it will yield the most revenue.
Mhm. Now, when you say projects, are you talking about project homes or what
Well,
are we
back
talking?
then it was project homes, because a lot
Yeah. Yeah.
of
Yeah.
projects were located right in the city. They were
Yeah.
located in the city, easier access to social services and
Mhm.
things of that nature. And you could do whatever you want. You didn't have to have a car, because you could take
Mhm.
care of all your business. You could walk, you could use public transportation, which is a big issue in the
Yeah.
city,
Yeah.
and things of that nature. However, there are some people who completely, I'm not going to say don't understand, but they're not concerned about city revenue,
Mhm.
because they're on the pay side of the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the people on the making money side of the game understand how important it is that you have people that you can assess taxes on and
Mhm.
continually grow that.
Mhm.
But what
Exactly.
has happened is
Exactly.
people are being priced out of the market on fixed incomes. And
Mhm.
this is what this lady was so upset about in that clip when she was talking to Kasim Reed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look at all this, what she brought up. Engineer. Why'd you have to bring in an engineer?
Mhm.
Oh, because the city paid for an engineer to come in and build this story of how certain things had to be done in order for A, B, and C to happen. And so that information probably was tainted.
They built. Yeah. They was building the case against her, and she said that
Exactly.
lied. Yeah. They said she said in the clip. And I'm gonna play the clip again in a little bit. That she said that the engineers they lied, and she
Yes.
brought her own engineer in with 40 years experience to and disputed everything that they said. Everything.
Right.
Good morning, Rico. How you doing this morning?
Grand Rising, my brothers. How y'all doing?
Hey,
All
doing
right.
good, doing good. You been listening to us this morning?
Yeah, I've been getting a little bit.
Okay, what's on your heart, brother? We got a lot going on this morning, man.
I know I heard a little bit what he said earlier and
Mm-hmm.
mentioned about why people should get involved in politics, and that's true because we realize and understand that there's a system in place that
Mm-hmm.
really doesn't benefit us the way that we've been sold that the
Mm-hmm.
government is supposed to. when you start looking at things like eminent domain, when I first heard about eminent domain, I was in elementary school, and it put me in the mind of colonization. Just being able to take people's property just for the common good of the greater good of the government for business. And you start thinking, well, you mean to tell me that I'm expendable? Everything I worked and earned and paid for is expendable on behalf of business and government and growth. Now you can just come in and wipe me out and give me less than what I deserve. That's not really for the people. So, when you say people should get involved in government, that's the reason why. To get in and change the system. Don't get in there and do like Tim Scott and a lot of these other politicians and just go away on this business as usual. You get in there, you understand that, man, look, the people really do need politicians in there that's fighting for the people, not on behalf of corporations.
Absolutely.
The regentrification is not just business either. A lot of times it has to do with those home developments where you got subdivisions, homes for the upper echelon. But you don't have the upper echelon in your city because we have that going on now. They just knock down all the state-built homes, projects. They just knocked 2 or 3 of them down. We built one of them, 2 of them they aren't. They're trying to move them to a different place, but they haven't decided yet. But now this land that we have, which is the old Fort McClellan, they ready to move on building some new homes. $400,000.
Yeah.
Man, who gonna live in them homes? So what you're doing, you trying to attract somebody in from outside to come here and start living and building their lives in an area where they can retire and have nice families. But these people you just displaced out these projects, you still haven't put them anywhere yet.
Yeah.
So now here it is, you're trying to attract these people. And so you're catering to the haves while the have-nots are still suffering. The have-nots are only reaping the benefits or getting the crumbs off of deals. So, this system that's in place, man, I mean, it is more than about race. I mean, race is one of the aspects of it when you start talking about people getting their homes appraised and getting hundreds of thousands of dollars less appraisal, and then getting their white friends to come in and put pictures in the home and get the same appraisal done on the same home from the same companies. And you get $150,000 to $200,000 more, That's one thing, fair, what you want to call fair business practices. But just on behalf of the government being able to come in and on eminent domain, that's something that has to change. Yeah, true enough, cities don't survive without growth and business. You do need business and growth, but not to the point of where you make citizens expendable and you put people out on the street.
And that's the thing right there, man. People, they really, truth of the matter, I don't think they care, and maybe they're not. Maybe it's by design that they don't care. But why would you? What if you're in government? If you're in politics, if you are a representative and supposed to represent the people, shouldn't you have some kind of heart for the people?
I'm not saying you don't have a heart for the people. However, it's not about heart. It's about the agenda. What is the agenda? What is the plan? There are some people that don't mind living in crime-infested areas. So that's why you'll see a huge push around election time. What are you going to do about crime? So somebody can come, well, I'm going to do this, stick their chest out and blah, 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 blah.
It ain't going to do
However,
nothing.
You have to understand that if your enemy has that against you, you have to come up with a way to fight that. So this is why you have local communities coming up with neighborhood watches and trying to stop things from going on in their community. Some of them are very dangerous or what have you. We know the situations being faced, and it's impossible to sit on that side of the table and have a positive reason for keeping this particular area in a particular state where someone can come in against you and say, this area would be better service and better, more beneficial if we changed it. If we changed it. If you have a plan to attract someone there, But the reason why they not coming is because of crime. Get rid of the people causing the crime. Change the
Mm-hmm.
rules. Come up with special task force. Do all types of things. But growth is growth. If you in there, if the only reason that's keeping you where you at is your feelings and your emotions, you're gonna lose.
Mm-hmm.
You have to secure where you live. You know what I'm saying? You
Mm-hmm.
can't just hope somebody sit there. Well, I think that no, we'll just go somewhere else and blah blah. They'll go somewhere else if they can't get the government to cooperate with oppressing the people.
And see, the thing about that is, Rico, when does it stop? Because even if they decide at one point, oh well, we're gonna take the money, we're gonna move over here to this side of town over here, and then now the same group of people come, now they want to take that side of the town, they want to take that community. Now, when does it stop, man?
That's the whole thing. That's the reason why you say it gets to a point in time where you say, well, okay, now the public or the average citizen has to start paying attention to what's more important to put their foot down, start
Mm-hmm.
addressing the serious issues. Because if you just keep overlooking stuff and just say, well, that's the way things go, that's the
Mm-hmm.
way things gonna keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so in the system is going to evolve, and before you know it, you're participating in a system that you don't even realize you're participating in, such as indentured servitude. You know,
Mm-hmm.
some people are in those situations and don't even realize it. Once again, when I look at eminent domain, one of the things I think about is America colonizing, America, Europeans colonizing North America
Yeah. Yeah.
for the greater good of business and growth of certain people.
Mm-hmm.
Certain privileged individuals that feel like, you know, well, those people are expendable for our benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And they ain't got nobody to defend them or fight for them. You know what I'm saying? And just to think that that process is right. Well, okay, nah, it's wrong. But what we're going to do, we're going to come up with different words and terms and put it in government, create a system to where we can still utilize this practice of putting our foot on people that are underprivileged and taken. I don't want to call it terrorism. I mean, but it's thievery.
Mm-hmm.
It's thievery. You just going in. I don't even. You might want to call it thievery. It's strong arm robbery. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
going and bullying and using the power that they have as a government to go and move people out. When they built Dodger Stadium, I met a guy when I was recording one of the football games one night that moved from LA, and he was saying he remembered LA before Dodger Stadium was built, and how all those black and brown people got moved to build a canal up there.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, man, he said, you know, I was young then. He said, and I didn't realize what was going on. He said, but now that I'm old, I realize just how messed up this country is. This is a white man. It's not surprising to hear that coming from a Californian, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You know, there wasn't a southerner, but, you know, just listening to him talk, I could tell that he had that social activism mindset, or just that liberal mindset to be impartial. You know, when right is right and wrong is wrong, that's all it is. So, you know, you can't say, well, you know what, money over everything, business over everything, the ends justify the means. No. These are people that are trying to build legacy. Some of these people that you are taking the homes from, they're just getting their feet on the ground, coming from a legacy of people that have been oppressed. You know what I mean? We do have to remember that there's a group of people that come from a system of oppression that are finally getting to the point to where they have their offspring achieving the dream of that America promised, going to get that education. Instead, you still have people right now that they're the first generation to go to college in 2021. Yeah. I'm the first one in my family to go to college. That's surprising. You know, that should have been a goal of people from the 30s and 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
But when you have a lack of hope and you don't have the focus of distraction to focus on to look at the things of you're distracted from the things that are most important, then it might take you to 2025 to have the first person in your family go to college. You know, but those are the things that we really have to pay attention to. Like I said, these are some of the things I paid attention to when I was young. It was hard for me to learn this in school and just say, well, okay, that's for the greater good of the United States. No. What about that family?
Yeah. Yeah.
What about those families? They have rights. They built a home. They built fun memories there. Bonds, neighbors. You're just scattering them because you want to build a new stadium. So I mean, you have to put people in place. Vocal people like Cynthia McKinney that will
Mm-hmm.
hold her colleagues to the fire, that will call out
Mm-hmm.
the government when it needs to be called out, because that's the job of the people that we elect. Represent us, the
Yeah.
common people.
Yeah. Exactly. 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. Give us a call. We love to have your input. Captain Leonard, is what we're talking about right now, is it in a nutshell, is it just the American way?
Well, I wouldn't even call it American because it happens everywhere. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's just not an American issue. It's
Mm-hmm.
the issue. It's always going to the powerful are always going to try to displace the weak.
Mm-hmm.
The people with an agenda are always going to be moving forward. Those that don't have an agenda, don't have a plan, don't participate in anything, you in the way.
Mm-hmm.
You are in the way. And you have to come to that realization to understand what it is you need to do and what you need to be a part of. Part of a reparations package will be, say, for instance, usually because a lot of these strategies are against communities of color, thus
Mm-hmm. Yes.
being activists,
Yes.
whether it be unequal justice in environment, politics, whatever it is. If it's unjust, it's unjust.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talking about hope, think about historically in Atlanta or what have you, or in certain areas. I shouldn't just say Atlanta, where black communities where black families own their land and their
Mm-hmm.
homes.
Okay.
First of all, they were not offered what their properties were worth, which is why they wouldn't sell. Above and
Mm-hmm.
beyond the fact that they just didn't want to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened? They started using all these tactics against these people to displace them from their homes.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you have people writing about it and actually taking these cases to court and saying, hey, this racially motivated plan decimated these black families.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So,
Mm-hmm.
what is the government going to do about that when it was intentionally motivated by race?
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge issue. And now that these areas, you have the people that look at these areas. I was reading about one in, I think, closer to Athens, where the university system, the University of Georgia, had bought up basically purchased the city. They purchased that much land where
Mm-hmm.
these people's houses were. So now they've replaced them, and that whole neighborhood of black homeowners disappeared.
Mm.
It was because of all of the efforts prior to that, which is the reason why certain people donate to certain people campaigns, because they know that once that person get in office, they're going to go along with the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear about people upset about how campaigns are funded, that's what they're talking about. Because if you can follow how much money somebody donated to a campaign, well, wait a minute, why they donate all that money to that particular person?
Follow the money. Mm-hmm.
Follow the money,
Mm-hmm.
because they're counting on that person when they get in office to go with their agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And the long game could be 10 years. In 10 years we'll have it. Don't worry about it. See, they ain't
Mm-hmm.
in no hurry. These plans have been established. Go look at a city plan for, I tell people, look at the city plan for where you live. Usually most cities have a plan that take you out next 10, 15, 20, 25 years from
Mm-hmm.
today. If there's an amusement park where you live, the plan is to get rid of you.
Wow.
That's what, if you looking at the city plan right where you live, a whole corporate developed plaza is right there. That means they got to get rid of you.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm.
if you just all about out here shaking your behind, and people, I always say I'm very conservative when it comes to certain things like this. And one of those things being that if I'm paying your rent, you live where I tell you to live.
Yeah.
If I'm paying your rent, me being the city, me being the government subsidy,
Yeah. Yeah.
you live where you're told to live
Or go
because
make your own.
I'm paying your rent.
Yeah. Or go make your own way.
This is why the thing was
Mm-hmm.
get a home. This is why black men wanted homes to raise their families. You could work and you could afford that home. You could be a police officer and live in that nice area. But it's not like that anymore. Because even though costs increased, salaries didn't increase by a whole lot. So if someone forces you to relocate, where you gonna go? Is what they give you gonna be enough to live somewhere else? All they want you to do is sign on the dotted line, and all of a sudden, like she said, they even changed the name to the deeds and everything.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
And this is what government do when you ain't got your eye on them. And they'll have meetings all day long and vote on it, and won't be a citizen sitting in the meeting because you had something else to do while these jokers is planning on destroying your community. Your child can't even go to the school right across the street because some zoning rule says your child go to the school over here. So much to the point where they imprison a woman, put her in jail because she used
Yep.
another address to get her child to go to a certain school. That's how serious they are. That's how serious some people's agenda is while you're not participating, while you not showing up. When you start showing up, they got to pay attention. If you let these politicians know, like say for instance, that clip that you played hurt that man's campaign.
It did. It did.
Yeah.
It did. It really did. Let me see. We got a caller. Let me see who the call is. Caller from the 443 area code. What's your name? Where you calling from?
What's up, bro? It's Kurt, man. What's going on?
Kurt. Good morning.
What's up?
What's going on, man? How you doing this morning?
Hey, what's up, bro? How's it going?
Hey, going good, going good. I'm going to play this clip, and I want to get your input on what you think about this clip, okay? Hold on. I'm going to play this thing one more time. And I voted for you. Mute your line, Curtis.
And then for your administration to come in our community to force families out of their homes by using eminent domain. And then come to find out, after we went to court, they withheld evidence that we could have used to resolve it, but then sent the documents after the city ruled in favor of taking our home. Took a name off the deeds to our home. And here we are, seniors. Where are we going to live? Where are we going to stay? But you told us we didn't have to move out of our home. You was working on a short-term and long-term plan. That's what you told us. And then your engineers lied. They lied in court. They lied in court. Your engineers lied in court. Because we hired an engineer, 40-year experienced engineer, went through those documents, found the evidence under your administration. So, Kasim Reed, I want to know why you're trying to get back in office again. To lie some more? To lie some more? Because we have heard all the lies we can from you and your administration. And it's not right. And it's not right. And it's not right. And like I told you before, when in this case, it's going to be divine exposure for you. And my question is, what you going to do now?
What I'm going to do is apologize to you from my heart. I made the best decision that I could make at the time because we were worried about severe weather events killing people. That was the best information that we had at the time. We made the best judgment based upon the information that we were receiving regarding flooding. And that's what I was trying to do. So I want to apologize to you. And I hope that if I am ever in position as mayor again, that I will be able to to treat you and your husband fairly and better than we did. But I apologize to you and your husband tonight. And what you just shared has affected me deeply, and I hope that we will be able to make it better.
Thank you, Mrs. Darden, for that question. And I felt that.
Kurt, what did you hear?
Well, what parts I could hear, the audio wasn't really extremely clear. But what I heard was, once again, a reason why critical race theory is important to the future of democracy. What I heard was a reminder to me specifically about the heinous acts that was done to keep a subgroup in our society as poor as they possibly can. And it struck really close to home for me because a lot of people don't know, man. Baltimore was the epicenter, ground zero for redlining, brother. We was the experiment. Before they implemented redlining across the country, Baltimore was the experiment. And now we seeing it. I haven't had the chance to take video. I'm going to try my best to do it today because I got to be out in the community today. But I'm going to take some video and send it to you so you can see for yourselves. And I guarantee you, once y'all see this video, or once you see this video, I guarantee you're going to want to do a show on this. Because it's a shame, man. I rode 2 blocks, and I'm not talking about 2 country blocks. I'm talking about 2 city blocks, 2 normal city blocks. I rode 2 city blocks right here. And I think we was on the phone. I think me and you was on the phone. And I started counting, and you was like, bro, what you counting? And I said, man, I'm counting the abandoned houses on just the left side of the street.
Wow.
And we went to the other side. And in 2 city blocks, I counted 65. My count, we got off the phone, I was still counting. There was a total of 65 houses just abandoned and left. You know, that's for the conglomerate bidder. Right? And you look at the community, and it's a classic thing. I look at the community just like, you know how sometimes you may have heard this, oh, well, you know, the white communities are so much cleaner than the black communities, right? So I put this thing together, man, because, you know, I work in housing. Any community is cleaner when the community is a community of ownership. Because when I ride in these black communities, you got to remember, I go from block to block. So I'm riding, I basically live my life. My whole job is basically in the downtown epicenter of Baltimore, the urban areas of all parts of Baltimore City, right? I can be on the same street. And I guarantee you, Raheem, if you came and rode with me, you will be able to tell which blocks is renters blocks and which blocks is ownership blocks, right? But yet we ain't never crossed over into a white community. We ain't never, the white community is 15 blocks due west. We still in the same, what they call black hood, but you will, it'll be an obvious difference. So you'll probably ask me, you'll probably say, Kurt, yo, why was that block, them 2 blocks right there clean? And these 2 blocks right here look a mess. Right? And if we get out and ask for, hey, you rent? Yeah, I rent. Hey, you own? Yeah, I own. The ownership blocks are cleaner, more safe.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Man, you know, The fact, the other day we was talking, and we was talking about, was it racism we was talking about the other day? But I want to say it was Tuesday when you had the show Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And it dawned on me after I got off the show that, you know what? To deny a person access is the same. To deny a person proper access or the same access is the same as not allowing at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
If you are saying, okay, the only way you can get into this home is you know what? I'm gonna end it right here.
Mm-hmm.
Raheem, I know you a man behind your credit score, and you pay very close attention to your credit score and this,
Yeah.
that, and the third, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'm tripping. Maybe the conspiracy theorist in me is getting the better of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I remember a time when a 640 was considered good to excellent credit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now a 640 is considered fair.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why that is, bro.
It's another maneuver. It's another maneuver. Rico, talk to me, brother. What did you hear in that clip?
I heard I heard a society of people that's still caught up in arguments that people have made 50 and 60 years ago. And it shows you that even though we have evolved and progressed in some areas, the most important areas we have let get by us. And so we're still dealing with those same situations that should have been resolved decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at it, that goes to show you just how distracted the public is. You know, for that to still be an issue in 2021 or 2020, whenever that was recorded. I know that had to be this year when she was addressing him. So, you know, 2021, we're addressing things that people had to go through in the 40s and 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Same exact issue.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that happen? How is it that the government can still use that abusive tactic and it not be changed yet? That's because of the people.
Mm-hmm.
People aren't involved in things that we should be involved in. It's on to the next. So that sort of lets you know that the way we move is somewhat dictated by people that tell us what to pay attention to and what's important.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I know that is because in the city that I'm in now, for the last 30 years, I grew up in a neighborhood that I assumed was that way decades before I was born. Then I found out historically that, you know what I'm saying, it wasn't always all black like I thought it was, that white people used to live over there at one point in time too. Some of these areas that are 95 to 100% black used to be 95 to 100% white.
Yeah.
And somehow they migrated from there. They went on to bigger and better things, better neighborhoods. And then here we come getting leftovers. So now I see it like when my mom lived. We were the first black people to live in that neighborhood. Moved out there in 1978, getting harassed by people because we were black. Now you go out there and it's majority black, and they look like it. Now when you get to certain homes, certain homes you could tell, okay, these ain't no black people, or either these people got some class. You could tell, like Curtis said, you could tell who's renting. But now you go back to this neighborhood that I grew up in. Well, I ain't gonna say I grew up in it, but I've been knowing about my whole entire life. Now you see it's open fields. You saw homes, or you see homes, like Curtis said. I was walking my dog one day, man, and if I was on a block that had 20 homes, 15 of them was abandoned. Abandoned. I mean, and it wasn't just one block. This was block after block after block. Open fields, dilapidated houses, trees growing up through the houses and through the roof.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Homes that I know people used to live in.
Mm-hmm.
I know the old people that once lived in them homes, but guess what? the children moved on up.
Mm-hmm.
They moved on up to that pie in the sky. They ain't got time for these little houses down here in Anson, Alabama no more. They got to go to the ATL.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they get to the ATL, guess what? They buying a home, but they still looking to keep up with the Real Housewives of Atlanta and the Love and Hip Hop. So they gonna move on up till they get to that $400,000 neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what they do. They start working the housing market. I'm trying to think of the word, flipping houses.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Until they get old enough to say, well, you know what? I can't take this 5-bedroom, 3,000, 4,000 square foot home anymore. I'm getting too old. I got a downside. So then they go on the downside and they finally buy something that they're going to go ahead and retire in. They're going to, you know, this is what they're going to settle down in. But in the process, we still trying to keep up with this American dream, keeping up with the Joneses. So, you know, you see these people forgetting about their legacies. You see people forgetting about the value of property. The minute you look in the newspaper, you start seeing property taxes or property tax sales, and they all in the black community. That lets you know that somewhere we are valuing the things that we really were fighting for the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
That was an opportunity, like Curtis said, an opportunity to own a home, to have property, so you can use as collateral later on or growth. You know, so I mean, those things, man, that we really have let a lot of things slip through our fingers that have been there for us to help us grow, because we were looking at what somebody else was doing and thought that what they had for us wasn't good enough. So now our grandparents and great grandparents' homes are going to somebody that's, when you look on that side of town that I'm talking about, somebody white done moved back over there.
Mm-hmm.
They either done renovated, knocked it down, or just rebuilt on that property. And little by little, you seeing more. I mean, at one point in time, if you saw a white person on this side of town, man, you seen black people turning flips. Hey, he cool. He hanging out over here.
Yeah.
It was abnormal. Now they moving over there. I ride over through there now. I see all these blank lots, and then I see a house, and I see some white people outside. I'm like, wait a minute, that used to be a crack house.
Yeah, yeah.
They easing on back over there. You know what I'm saying? But that's that shows you that how valuable it is. Property is valuable, period. But we don't value it enough, so we let not what our grandparents and great grandparents invest in, just letting it go.
Exactly. Leonard, I pulled up something. We was talking about the when Curtis was talking about the amount of homes that's vacated, and I somehow Detroit came to my mind, and I'm going to read something that is saying about Detroit. It says with at least 70,000 abandoned buildings, 31,000 empty homes, and 90,000 vacant lots, Detroit has become notorious for its urban blight. I mean, those numbers are, and that's just one city. Not talking about the state of Michigan. They talking about Detroit, Leonard. And
have you seen a video? Have you seen a video? I've seen video where people just rolled around Detroit to show you, man. It looked like a third world country, man. Like, I mean, you would think, oh, a war was started over there, except didn't nobody drop a bomb. Terrible, man. I can't. I mean, it's terrible, man. It's hard to believe, and that is America.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm looking at those numbers, Leonard. I'm looking at those numbers, man. 70,000 abandoned buildings, 31,000 empty homes, and 90,000 vacant lots. Leonard, yes. Y'all just ain't gonna let me get to Leonard, huh?
Because I know Leonard got something powerful to say, but I gotta drop this in there real quick. Man, I got a list of my computer right now. I can send it to you, man, when I get off tonight. That list has 25 houses per page on that list. Guess how many pages it is, bro?
How many?
It's 210 pages. And I just got a piece of the list. I got the first 210 pages of the list.
Wow.
Baltimore's the same. I'm telling, just like Rico said, go on YouTube and look it up. Baltimore, guys riding around shooting video of the abandoned buildings and abandoned houses. It is
Mm-hmm.
a travesty, man. It
Absolutely.
is a travesty.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you gotta go to Leonard, man.
Leonard, what's on your heart, brother? What does those numbers say to you?
It says there's a lot of opportunities for investment in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what exactly what that means.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you ride through Detroit, on one radio station, you hear people talking about how bad Detroit is. And on the other radio station, you hear about come to Detroit. There's
Mm-hmm.
plenty of there's plenty of space. There's plenty of opportunities for investment. There are
Mm-hmm.
several programs to encourage investment in these areas. You can't, if you want an area, you have to claim an area. I don't know why those homes are abandoned. I have no idea. You want to find out the story of an abandoned home, first you got to find out who owned it. The owners didn't abandon it, did they?
Mm-hmm.
Or did renters abandon it? Something happened, but usually what'll happen is one, yeah, they let you look and say, "Oh, this looks so bad." Who owns the title to all of that property? Who?
I have no
Probably
idea.
the city.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as they can convince you that it's a place that's just destructive third world, that's all this, that, and the other, they'll keep you from going there
Mm-hmm.
because
My
you'll
question, my
say
question
it's
my question
worth
is this.
nothing.
Yeah, but my question is this though, Leonard. We talked about the gentrification earlier and how they go in and take over communities and take over different places and rebuild them. And why are they not doing that in a place like Detroit? Why are they not doing that? Because if the place is if it's already abandoned, they should be able to go in and rebuild it and make it the way that they want to make it. So why is that not happening in Detroit?
Well, first of all, you have to understand what is the city's plan. The city
Mm-hmm.
probably already has a plan for all of that area. Now, that plan may not take effect for a few years, but whoever owns that property, I guarantee you, owns the plan.
Mm.
The bank just may own all that property. You never know. Find out who owns the property first.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's just land, then what the city will do, the city is the one that appropriates land use. The land use could be public use or private use.
Mm-hmm.
But they're right now at the part of the plan where here is the after effect of all the things that they've done. Clear land.
Mm.
Now, someone's like, say, for instance, if I tell people all the time, they have so many programs in these cities. And if you don't take advantage of them, someone else will.
Mm-hmm.
So in the
Mm-hmm.
city that I'm from, there's a program where there's a house next to your property. And for some reason that house is to be condemned or what have you, you can purchase that for about $1 or so.
Mm.
Now, who you mad at? Who you mad at? Carry your dollar down there and get that land.
That land, yeah, yeah.
You can't sit around and look at stuff that's available and just, hey, that's a shame. No, it's not. It's an opportunity for investment.
Mm.
Go out there and see if you can get some land. And like I have several friends that have bought several houses in Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
places where some of y'all say ain't valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But if I buy a house now, in 10 years, I should be making some money.
Mm-hmm.
And if I build a house on the land and I own the land contract to the house, that's my investment.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fault people for taking advantage of opportunities that you do not.
I can agree. I can agree with that, but I still have that question in my mind, and Rico might be able to address this as well. Why are they not doing this gentrification thing? Why is this land just sitting there for this amount of time? And those numbers are ridiculous.
Because wealthy people can afford to hold land for 20, 30 years. All they got to
Mm.
do is pay the taxes on the land.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe they holding it for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
because they understand that in the 15-year plan to develop this area of Detroit, there's a supermarket and everything on the plan. But however, it may take 10 to 15 years to clean that land off. So now that the land is cleaned off, trust me, there's a plan for it. It's just not your plan.
So you think Detroit is coming back? Rico, what's on your heart?
Detroit has been coming back the whole time.
Yeah, somebody got a plan in place. Believe me, you know what I'm saying. It's a situation to the point where sometimes the property owners might know about it.
Exactly.
And in the process of them knowing about it, guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna stop fixing up on that house because they know Walmart coming in here to do some retail development. Because they know that in 15 years, they are turning this into commercial development.
Right.
So you can get a lot of money when somebody want to come in and develop businesses on your property. So that goes back to what I was saying again earlier. Even if you do leave here, go somewhere else, but you got this home property. You know, you hear people say this all the time. I got some property back home. Then before you know it, I just let that stuff go, man. I ain't going back there. I ain't nothing back there.
Exactly.
I just said a second ago, that was the whole goal of your elders.
Yes.
Was the own property. That if you don't understand that property is some of the most valuable stuff you could have, whether it's an abandoned building on it or not, that land is valuable. So people, this is what we came out of slavery, and we fought for civil rights for, to have property where we wanted it. Now somebody might try to say, well, you know what, it ain't that good no more. It's been contaminated. The EPA may come in and say, you know what, this land ain't no good. We had to superfund it. You know, we had PCB contamination down there. You know, people was dying left and right, and it was real. And they bought all them homes out. So now all you see is vacant lots. And in these areas of projects, the same thing. They found the dirt. That was more reason to contaminate it and move those people out there and knock them down. But they dug so far and pulled that dirt out of there and then replanted the good soil. Now you just got beautiful field. You walk around and you just like, man, it could be a huge park right there and a huge park right there. That's what you hear simple-minded people say. But 10 or 15 years ago, when I started seeing little by little, man, it's turning into a ghost town over here. Somebody gonna come over here and relay these railroad tracks, and before you know it, there's gonna be an industrial park over here. Somebody gonna come over here and build some industry. Y'all better keep up with that land. It might be 15 or 20 years from now, but somebody gonna come in. They're gonna want to redevelop, because at one point in time, that's what was going on in that area. You had a whole bunch of foundries, and then you had a lot of houses that the foundries built. And within that, you had a whole lot of railroads built in that area to supply those foundries. And little by little, the foundries started closing because they were polluting the area, and they became more black populated. And before you know it, they started pulling at the railroad tracks, besides for a few people that still needed them. Now it's wide open land. I mean, like I said, when you went through that, man, you were like, it was house. Now, open land. I mean, it looked like a completely different city. When people come back here, they're like, man, this don't look the same. I'm like, yeah, you better jump on it. Now it's about too late. And I know, at least when I moved back here, I was saying 10, 12 years ago, man, they fixing to turn that into commercial development. And that's what they're doing, redevelopment. So business growth is what makes the city flow. I mean, you could make money off of property taxes from the people. The city is going to get money off of that. But the majority of the city's money is going to come from the business and the taxes that people pay from those businesses. So that's why it's going to come first. But at the same time, on behalf of just the regular Joe Smo like myself, we still have to have somebody fight on our behalf on the issues of like the eminent domain.
Exactly. We have another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
It's Regina.
Hey, Regina, how you doing?
I'm okay. How are y'all?
Hey.
How's everybody doing this morning?
Hey, doing well. Regina, are you talking directly into your phone, or you on Bluetooth?
I'm talking into my phone.
Oh, okay. It's just a tad bit low. But
Get a little echo?
No. It's just a little bit low. It might be my end though. But let me tell you one of the things.
Hold on. Let me see. Let me call on my cell phone.
Okay.
Because this is my house phone, though cheap.
Okay.
Okay.
Call me right back.
Did she say house phone?
Yeah, man. I know, right? Yeah. Look at it. I ain't think they made them no more. But Curtis, let me unmute you, brother. I had to unmute you for a second there. Had a little background noise going on. But Curtis, what's on your heart, brother? Talk to me.
Well, you know, I hear what my brother and my mentor, whom I consider him to be my mentor, you know, Leonard. I hear what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in a perfect world where all things are even, that is dead. That is right on point. What Leonard is saying is what the law says,
Mm-hmm.
but the law is not equally applied, because a prime example is what my former mayor actually went to prison for. It's all about access, man. What is happening is in these black and brown communities, powers that be are doing things to devalue their communities.
Mm-hmm.
So once a community is devalued, or once the one thing that you have that could insinuate wealth or promote wealth is devalued, what wealth you had no longer exists. Now, I done seen this several times.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it. Once again, goes back to access. You got, in a lot of these cities, you got local African American construction firms that are trying to bid for contracts to refurbish or upgrade a community, and they are being denied.
Mm-hmm.
So they're being denied access to the uplifting of a given community, right? They're being denied that access, and then if they are given a contract, the story is, well, you had to know somebody to get that contract.
Mm.
But yet, if they give them a contract, they'll give them the how can I put it, the crumbs. They won't give
Mm-hmm.
them a piece of the pie. They'll give them the crumbs.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a mayor that went to jail behind that because she said she would not give any more contracts to these wealthy Caucasian American owned companies when we had more than enough minority owned companies here in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Folks got mad. They investigated her, sent her to jail. Right?
Mm.
We can use Ridgeway, South Carolina, for example. Ridgeway, South Carolina is predominantly black owned. The population is about 4,000 people. Well, it was about 4,000. It's probably more now. When those black folk was amassing wealth through the ownership of the land, all of a sudden, you allow for a mineral company to come in and pull gold out of the ground, gave these black folk almost peanuts, and the way that you told them that the land was worth nothing was you put a bunch of sulfur in the ground. And it has been known throughout history. Same thing with Ethiopia. The reason why Ethiopia looks like it looks today is because when the British got their butt kicked over there, when they pulled out, they dropped salt pellets in the dirt, in the soil. Ethiopia was one of the most beautiful places on the planet. It is believed that that's where the Garden of Eden was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I get it. Like, hey, buy it. You know, all at the same time, you got to look at access. If you're saying if I buy this house, it's only worth 40,000, but if Bubba buy this house, it's worth 100,000. That's a disparity right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So why should I be made to accept less when I'm looking at? I know Bubba.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Bubba grew up together.
Yeah.
Bubba bought the house right next to me, and we talking, and Bubba say, you know, there, Bo, look, man, I bought this house, man, and man, do you know they told my house worth 170,000, and I bought the same house right next to Bubba, and I'm like, well, Bubba, you know they only told me my house worth 65.
Mm.
We got the same house,
Yeah.
brother. I'm just saying, you know, at the end of the day, um, there are disparities within these cities like Detroit, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Chicago, that they are purposely devaluing
Mm-hmm.
the property of African American and brown communities with the hopes of destroying the idea of allowing us to gain access to proper wealth. In
Mm.
the end, it's the same thing with the 40 acres and a mule. Why you
Mm.
think we wasn't given the 40 acres and a mule?
Mm. Wow. Wow. Mutual line. We got another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Regina, calling from Atlanta.
Regina. Good morning. How you doing this morning?
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing good. We got a black. This is what we call black conversations, and we talk and we say that's just a name. We talk about everything we want to talk about. But what's on your heart this morning?
I know what the brother said that just spoke, and as far as Brother Leonard, they had a lot of valid points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like Leonard said, you know, there's opportunities there right up under our nose, and some of us don't take advantage of those opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
then we can't blame nobody, right?
Yes.
And some of it is education. You know, some
Mm-hmm.
of us, you know, just don't. We're not, we're just not really that learned on a lot of things, and some of this stuff is just coming to us,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, because I remember when gentrification was coming into New York,
Uh-huh.
and there was some people, like mostly like Caribbean families, that was getting ready for it, and
Mm-hmm.
so when they were like building condominiums in the hood, you know, condos, and yeah, a lot of really expensive condos in the hood, right across the street from the project.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Um, just those families, yeah. I mean, they were still smack in the middle of the hood, but property value was going up. And these Caribbean families, that they went and bought these properties, they knew, they saw it coming, and that
Mm-hmm.
was right before Barclay Center was built. So I grew up in that area, and so when I used to go to school and go to work, all up and down where the Barclay Center was, it was just all vacant.
Mm-hmm.
There was just empty lots, big rats, everything. It was nothing over there.
Mm-hmm.
But when the Barclay Center built up and those condos came, I mean, and then, you know, gentrification, and a lot of nice businesses came in, right? But, you know,
Mm-hmm.
still Black people was in the mix
Mm-hmm.
trying to stay. And now they would say, they would say things like they were going to um, demolish the projects and tear them down and build up all these. So it was a lot of fight over that.
Mm-hmm.
And so to this day, those projects are still there.
Wow.
I think there's like they can't tear down the project. So even still, gentrification is all over New York City. I mean, every city is like that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's just how it is. But there are people of color who have been blessed enough to get property in New York, right? But let me show you how. Some of them got, a lot of them, like my friends, her family got property like over 30 years ago when they were selling for pennies, but they were not from America.
Mm-hmm.
They were not American. So what it is, there are certain things, like this last caller, he was saying, like, basically, the law is not equally applied. Well, sometimes you have other people who go in and speak for you and get this property. It has been cases where when they find out that the buyer is of color,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, A lot of times you lose those opportunities unless you have somebody that's not of color
Mm-hmm.
go in there and represent you. So it happens. It happens a lot. And I mean, look, I'm I'm not surprised, but on a spiritual level, I believe that the hands, the wealth is exchanging basically, and then people are getting really afraid. They're
Mm-hmm.
afraid because we're starting to get access to a lot of these things that we were shut out from before, all these opportunities. And I think people are getting really afraid. The knowledge is out there and people are taking advantage of it. Our people are very, very intelligent, super brilliant,
Mm-hmm.
right? So anything we get a hold of, we devour
Mm-hmm.
and we make it look like something different from when it was presented to us, because that's what we do with everything we touch. So it's unstoppable, it's non-stoppable, it's unstoppable. Even if we could sit and think that it's not happening and we're not getting it. We could cry about. They're not letting us. No, we're getting it. There's some people, like, as we speak, there's a lot of us that are out there taking advantage of the knowledge that's out there and the opportunities are out there. They're not sitting down there thinking about they're not gonna get it. They're not gonna get it. We're gonna find a way, because
Mm-hmm.
right now it's happening. It's happening. I mean, I see it, I feel it, I
Mm-hmm.
know it. It's
Yeah.
happening. So I think we that who are still here have to recognize that. That's what I really truly believe.
Good
We have
deal.
to recognize the shift in
Mm-hmm.
power.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You
Let
hit it
it.
on point. You hit it
Repossession,
on
the
point.
repossession,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the
Hey,
repossession.
absolutely. Absolutely.
All
Good.
right.
Good
Thank
deal.
you.
Stay right there, sister. We're gonna go to Leonard and we're gonna circle back around. So if you got some time, hang out
Okay.
with us for a little bit. Leonard, what did you hear
Sure.
in that, man? Because that was powerful, brother.
I mean, it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's the truth of the matter. I wouldn't sit around like I don't do the bleeding heart thing.
Mm-hmm.
I stick with the facts and come up with, if I don't like what's going on, come up with a plan to fight.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's what we do. So there are lots of different issues. I was never big on the gentrification issue
Mm-hmm.
because there were too many facts there that provided for it. It was very public information. And when the people most affected negatively came to the table, all they had was feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So you got money on one side, you got feelings on the other side. I remember one time I said, it's not fair. This has been in our community for 100 and so years. I said, well, so if this is so important to your community, why didn't your community go and get it labeled as a historical landmark?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I don't want to hear that,
Mm-hmm.
because what they did was go and get it labeled a historical landmark. Now you're mad because they tore down your church or whatever that had been in the community for over 100 so years. That was so
Mm-hmm.
important,
Hmm.
but you didn't see the value of making it a historical landmark.
Mm-hmm.
Now you go to a church and you don't even know who owned your church. You
Wow.
think because you go there, you own the church.
Mm.
So one, you can say, okay, well, how did they tear it down? Either the pastor owned it or the board owned it,
Mm-hmm.
and they made the decision on what to do. And obviously, they didn't care anything about you all, but
Mm.
you was going to their church for 20 years
Mm-hmm.
and never knew who owned the church.
Mm.
Wow.
It has already been written what shall be done.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not at that table when that writing going on, you're gonna have to fight a whole lot harder. What you need is to vote for people that are willing to write what you need into the law.
Come on. Come on.
That's the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have a way to put pressure on someone to change their minds. So, your crime ridden, infested, low value area today, in 15 years, may be the largest growing, highest tax area in the entire city in 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But all people in Detroit, from Detroit, talk about is how bad it is. Oh, this place ain't going nowhere. Then explain to me why them 3 houses just sold down. Them 3 shacks just sold down the street.
Mm-hmm.
Them shacks.
Mm-hmm.
People that just bought the land with the intention to tear the house down, just to hold the land
Mm-hmm.
for 10 to 15 years. See, that's not people who then you got other people on a whole different level. We gonna buy it and flip it in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't take advantage of those opportunities, and you come to the table with is feelings, you're gonna be left out because you definitely don't have enough money to stop what's happening. So you better have some what? Votes.
Mm-hmm.
You better have some votes. The only thing that beats money is votes.
Mm-hmm.
So while you over here preaching, well, we don't need to be bothered with politics. We need to get our economics down. You need to get your butt down there to them polls and vote. I don't care if you got $1 trillion. If the law in the city's council say you can't buy, you can't buy.
Yeah.
That's the way
Mm-hmm.
it works. But for some reason, the value of the vote has not been taken seriously until with we had gotten away from it. Now you got people with all these great excuses and all these neo-Negroes and all this type of stuff going on. And you don't see what's happening. You're being outpriced.
Mm-hmm.
And it's being targeted at the areas that are easily taken because you won't vote. And now you got 70% population of black people living in the area, and the Durham City Council is half white. That don't make sense.
No.
That don't make sense. But if you allow it to happen, this is what will happen. And when let's not trick ourselves and believe that everybody wants a great neighborhood, because everybody don't. There are some people still who need an area to stay the way it is so they can keep making the money that they're making.
Mm-hmm.
I got to have somewhere to sell my dope. I got to. So if you take my area away from me, where I'm going to sell my dope at?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to dope dealers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some people don't have no interest in investing in the neighborhood because wait a minute, this is where we come get our transgender prostitutes from.
Mm.
It's just that crazy. You have to
Wow.
look at all those things that are a part of that picture and look at the plan that's involved. One of the biggest issues is how to defeat crime in the city of Atlanta. That's a big question for the next mayor. How you gonna do it? Well, one
Mm.
candidate comes up, oh, I'm gonna hire 100 police.
Yeah.
To do what?
My first day in office.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna hire 100 police. Well, what those police gonna be doing?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna be harassing and arresting black folks. That's what they're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
doing. They're gonna be making your area safe, so they can say, "Oh, this area is safe now," where everybody else was moving because of crime. Now they're gonna go in and fix it, and then they're gonna come and tell everybody, "Look at what we did," and then the corporations gonna come in, and now it's safe to build.
Mm-hmm.
So politics matter to everybody. You can choose to be a part of it or not. But that ain't cool when think about it. Your grandmama that stay in that house where she been at, when she passed, she want to get that to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you sit there and let her lose it, you know she ain't reading everything come in the mail. You know she don't understand what them tags on the door and all that. That's your
Mm-hmm.
investment. So you as the heir to it need to be involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you the heir to this property, why are
Mm-hmm.
you not involved? Why are you not involved in helping and making the decisions on what's going to happen to where that particular piece of property is? You got very wealthy people. That's how I met Killer Mike. I had met
Mm-hmm.
him before that political stuff, but what his interest in this area of DeKalb is because he's a business owner. He owns land in DeKalb. He
Mm-hmm.
wants a certain thing to happen, so he'll come to those meetings and explain it for those people.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Yeah, he got money, but he owns property and interest in an area, which lets you know where his support is going to go."
Exactly.
You know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? He grew up,
Mm-hmm.
he made it to go where he want to go, but maybe half his family still over in the area where he's from.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you see these rappers now investing in these neighborhoods because they're learning the game. They're learning man, we got to go buy the neighborhood up.
Yep.
They got that type of money. So being that they got the money, the people that don't want them to do it, they have another plan for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't always walk in with money and get what you want if the city council president got a problem with you.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
they'll
good.
sit and write law that keeps certain people from doing certain things. One thing I used to love about this city of Atlanta is you can't keep a lot of people out by money because so many people here have money. You can't holler gentrification of the poor when your kids are moving into those condos.
Mm-hmm.
Who you think buying up all these spaces? All of these young, wealthy entrepreneurs who are opening businesses in these communities. They want to live next to their business.
Mm-hmm.
They want to live in apartment complexes now. They got concierge services. You know, I used to say, wait a minute. So they live like they at a hotel, and all they do is call down to the front desk for what they want.
Yep.
Young people, young black people.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't use race the way you used to use it. You said the
Mm-hmm.
white folks this, the white. Wait a minute now. Half the people black.
Mm-hmm.
They
Recognize who you
moving
talk
into these. They moving into these areas too. These new
recognize who you talking about.
gentrified
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's the
Exactly.
displacement of poor people that
Mm-hmm.
is the cause. It's the displacement. I don't care who buy it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the displacement of these people who cannot afford it, who are being pushed out of their communities simply because they don't have the income to support themselves.
Wow. 508-924-3521. 508. I can remember the 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. Rico, what's on your heart, brother?
And for that reason, the reason that black people really don't pay attention to those type of things, the property taxes, delinquent taxes, keeping up with owning property, that's the reason why white people sometimes have to come in, because they won't get developed. See, those same people, like Leonard was saying, those same people that complaining, those are the ones that America has built to be dependent and on convenience. So now I depend on everybody to do everything, and I just sit back and just get employed by them or whatever they want to do. And so, you know, you're waiting on them to build, not understanding that this is the whole process of you progressing. You know, now we look at our homes, you know, we say we got the home house, the grandparents live there, and not realizing that we might have a huge church that's been there longer than them, like Linda said. I'm talking about the real deal churches. I ain't talking about these that people are renting and then they just made a building into a church, and when they leave, it's a strip club or a coffee shop next week. I'm talking about somebody just go and change in a couple of pipes and take the pews out. It's a different building. I'm talking about those real deal, been built since 1800 churches that you can't make nothing else out of it but a church. They're going to be here. It's sitting on 5 acres. It's one like that down here sitting on 5 acres in the middle of a black neighborhood. Lets you know it used to be a white neighborhood. That's the proof right there. Been there since 1888. Surrounded by black homes all my life. I really couldn't put two and two together because my mind wasn't in this type of thought process. How did this big white cathedral, white people church end up in this black neighborhood? My simple mind is thinking there's always been black. But then I started thinking this wasn't always black. White people left here and black people came and bought the leftovers. Then it became their property. That was how, you know, we started getting our feet on the ground. I said, okay, now I'm getting it. I'm putting everything together as far as history goes. Then I started seeing these people leaving, and I'm like, man, why ain't nobody living in that house? Few of the houses right now are livable. Ain't nobody living in them. You start wondering, you know, and you think about, okay, people are leaving. They're not keeping up with the property tax. But guess who owns all that property right now? And they still waiting on the rest of the sorry people to abandon their homes and let the taxes get delinquent so they can get it. That big St. Michael's Church that's been there since 1888, functioning under the same order and agenda that it always has been. The same process, the same value system. See, once we get a value system and understand what it is we really want to achieve in life, then things may start changing as far as black people, so we don't have to sit back and just complain and wait on somebody else to come in. Because like I said, these are our neighborhoods that We don't want regentrification because it's gonna make it too expensive, but it ain't gonna be no development if they don't come in and start developing. Because y'all don't want to do it. You letting the property go, you own it. Man, so many people I know, man, that's your property. Yeah, man, I got a house over there, man. You just letting it go down like that? The only thing you can say is out of pride, you got left a home and I got some property, but what you doing with it? And then you got some people that actually make a living off of buying delinquent tax homes. Ted Turner, everybody talked about how rich Ted Turner is, and they thinking about CNN and TBS and TNT. Man, that man is rich off of land. He is rich off of land. I mean, so that really shows you, look, property is so valuable that somebody came over here and stole all of it and killed just to get it. Brutally and savagely. And then rewrote history and put names on it and made you praise people that came over because it didn't matter about the ethics behind it. It just mattered that we own it now. We got it. It's ours, America. That was, I mean, it's very valuable. So when you start looking and realizing how valuable it even goes beyond money. You just have to realize how valuable it is to some people. So, I mean, I guess when we start, getting in that environment and realizing the legacy behind it, the reason why it's valuable, then we can start having more of a dog or having more skin in the fight. Like Leonard said, when it comes to, if you ain't gonna have the money, at least have your vote work for you. You got to put some skin in the game. If you don't put no skin in the game, then it ain't nothing gonna benefit you in it. The only thing that's gonna benefit you is the little crumbs that's left around for you to grab. We talked about the crumbs the other day. And if you want to fight for those crumbs, be lazy enough just to wait on those crumbs, then you ain't really got a lot of room to complain.
Exactly. We got another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Good morning. This is Bishop.
Bishop.
Mountain, Georgia.
Good morning, Bishop. How you doing this morning?
Man, I'm great. How's everyone?
Hey, doing good. Little, you gonna say it this morning?
Good morning, good Bishop.
What's on your heart, brother? I know you've been listening this morning. What's on your heart? We got another call or two. Other caller, we coming to you next. What's on your heart, Bishop?
Well, I the topic which y'all discussing. I was listening to Leonard when he was talking about people need to get involved and go out and vote. And what he's saying is absolutely true. And I think about the civil rights movement and the struggle that we had to go through. I was looking at a documentary the other night, and they were talking about Black Wall Street and then Reconstruction once we were supposedly freed in 1863. So this is a very interesting topic as it relates, because one thing these guys are doing, they're educating. Leonard Rico was talking about what's going on and how people are just letting their property go. And when I live over here, and that property is going down, they don't think that you should invest in it. You should make money off of it. So that's what's funny. It's like they don't care about what goes on over here in this area. But I want to be over here so everybody can think I got it going on. And they don't care about the little thing. And most times they don't care about, what grandmama left or was trying to leave an inheritance for somebody. They care less about that. And I can say that when I was, commissioner in the cabinet, back before I was commissioner, there were investors going along to these Black communities buying these houses, giving the folks $5,000 or $10,000 at the most. And now those same houses from that same community that he was buying them up, they were buying them up, are now selling those same houses right now at $400,000 a plus. And you sit back and you look like, man, the folks who own this house, they sold it for peanuts, and somebody left around and started buying a whole bunch of steaks. Ain't that something? So that's it.
Good deal. Got another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? Toy with a T.
I was getting ready to say it's me, Toy with a T. Good morning, y'all.
Good morning. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. Believe it or not, I'm just sitting back listening this morning.
Okay.
Ain't got nothing to say.
You get no comment?
No comment.
Okay. I'll come back to you in just a few minutes, but right now I'm gonna go to Regina. Regina, what's on your heart?
Well,
or like Brother Leonard was talking about the displacement of the people in those communities. Yeah, I totally agree because it's one of the most disheartening and depressing things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's sad because I always think about it from city to city. Like, what happened to those folks that was there? You know, that was
Mm-hmm.
always there. What happened to the black people that was in every last city that had to, like, even in Atlanta. Remember, what's it? When I used to live here back in, let me see, that was like 20 years ago, downtown. What was those projects downtown? That was right by, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
They all tore down and they
Capital
filled up
Home.
all, I mean, it's crazy.
Capital.
It's crazy, but it happens
Mm-hmm.
in every city. And it's like, so this is my thing. Because divide and conquer is real. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what's defeating us. I mean, we could have these family discussions because black people care about, quote unquote, care about black issues. I mean, what I'm saying is that we seem like we're united, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
something that affects one, we all get offended, but divide and conquer is real. I mean, they're conquering us because we're so divided. I look at the Mexicans and how they could just come to this country and they all jam up in one room, or they jam up in these little houses and they all build each other up, and it's mental.
Mm-hmm.
It's in our mind. This division thing, how we don't trust each other, we don't see where it's necessary to you know pool in together, because like even my family, I had two aunts. They lived in two different houses side by side. Okay, they both didn't have a husband. Now they was in their 80s, or I mean, since they was like in their 30s all the way up into their 80s, they lived in side by side in these huge houses, right,
Mm-hmm.
by themselves, and nobody's living in there with them, right? And in immigrant families, it would be maybe two other families in that house, and everybody saving their money, pooling their money in together, right, to buy the next house and the next house and the next house and the next business and the businesses. I mean, this is how you build communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is that I'm like, okay, we gotta really understand what community looks like, because we have these black family discussions, but we're so divided. We're so divided, and as long as we're divided, I mean, we got to learn to, I mean, we got to find our tribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Find your tribe of people that think like you, that you could really trust, that you could really build on something instead of just talking about the problems, talking
Mm-hmm.
about stuff. I mean, really build on stuff and build these communities. Like brothers are now doing some stuff. I love what I'm seeing in the real estate market, where you seeing brothers are starting to work together, trust each other. They putting
Mm-hmm.
down the gun. So listen, we got to be really on guard spiritually to understand that when people see us uniting, they're already mobilizing to figure out how to divide us,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what always conquered us, is the division. So my
Mm-hmm.
thing is that we got to understand that we have to learn to trust each other and build together a real community. We can't just talk about what they doing to us, what they doing to, what are we gonna do for each other?
Mm-hmm.
What are we gonna do together? I mean, that's just my thing, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the village and the community is, I mean, is just broken down from the division.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that's on my heart right
Good deal. Good deal. Curtis, talk to me, brother.
now.
Well, I mean, the sister just sent one into the Hudson, um, because she right. I mean, bruhs is stepping up. It's not moving as fast as we would want it to move, but it is happening. Hearing everybody talk, I'm reminded of two real situations. One is I'm reminded of what can happen. See, I like to deal from the perspective of root cause, because in dealing with root cause, you find that you can hold the folks that need to be held accountable for the actions. You can find out who exactly you need to hold accountable. And hearing what everybody's saying, and everybody's so on point, I'm thinking of two situations. One is Watts, California. We very rarely talk about it, but they actually did a documentary called Bombs Over Baghdad. It was actually kind of the industry's way of giving a tribute to Outkast, right there from Atlanta, Outkast, because the album's Bombs Over Baghdad had a lot of subliminal messages in it that went over a lot of people's heads. But they did this documentary about it. It was called Bombs Over Baghdad. And in the documentary, they went to Watts. And they talked about how at a time in, I want to say in the early 40s and 50s, Watts was 99.9% black owned and 95.9% black business owned. And there was an initiative to take Watts because Watts was an epic center for cash. You know what I mean? Like Watts was basically moving to be the new Black Wall Street, right? So I tell you what, come back to me, man, because that's my boss. But come back to me, but I gotta tell y'all this.
Good deal. Rico, what's on your heart, brother?
Yeah, I like what the sister said too. You know, she reminded me earlier when she spoke the first time. I think I brought it up before about how Master P had to get some white businessmen, white attorneys, to be the face of his company when he bought all that property in downtown New Orleans. Because he knew that they weren't going to allow him to buy that prime real estate. You know, and then, you know, with the second comment she made about brothers coming together, I'm seeing it, you know, right now I'm affiliated with some guys. One is a former city councilman here. He's in the real estate real heavy. Two other guys, they do business. They have government contracts in their own businesses. And then the major one, he's out of Houston, same age as me. And man, when I tell you behind the scenes, when you start realizing, you know, what's going on. So when I think about what she's saying, I realize that a lot of black people are going in so many different directions. It's hard for us to get on that same playing field, you know, because we really have different goals. We think we have the same goals as a community, but once you start looking at what everybody's doing, you realize everybody has different goals. And so, you know, we're not really in the right position to do the things we need to do. Now, it was worse 20 years ago, because I remember it was a guy here that was he was trying to talk to young black men that he felt like had the head on their shoulders and had to go get about themselves and had courage to get involved and be leaders. And he talked about stuff like this, investing in money, CDs, government, politics, business. And, you know, he couldn't really get a lot of people to bite because we was on our Master P and our Tupac till we was on our, you know, that street life. We was on our strip club runs. You know, we didn't have time to sit back and talk about business at a young age that he was trying to get us to realize that was important. So sooner or later, as this side of town that we're talking about started getting more dilapidated, he started having more of a voice because he started realizing more and more how important it is that we keep this historical black district open. Everybody else is progressing, but this is going downhill, just like in every other state, every other city. You see the black side of town starting to decline and the other side of town starting to, you know, always progressing. And so it got to a point where he said, well, you know what, man, for me to get something accomplished, I'm going to have to deal with some of these white business people because I ain't got enough black people in my community and willing to address these situations as far as investing in property and building up business and leaving our mark that our ancestors and elders left us. Building on that. We're not doing that. So that's what he's doing now. When I see him every now and then, he'll still tell me, man, keep on pushing, young man. But he's not affiliated with the younger guy that I know. Now, the guy that I know, like I said, we're all in the same man race. But those four guys, man, I was actually surprised. I was invited to the meeting, and I sat down and listened to them talk, man. And that's when I realized, man, you know what? These jokers, they dealing with all the major players. So now I started realizing that sometimes you don't have to have that money, though. Sometimes you just have to have a big enough voice and a big enough vision. Because now that has been happening, I've been getting invited to these planning and development planning for the city of Anderson, the city of Calhoun County. I've been getting invited to these meetings, getting phone calls from people that have representatives. Hey, I'm calling on behalf of so and so, so and so. You ever heard of her? No, I've never heard of her. Or she's a big mover and shaker in the city. She wants to invite you to a development plan. And I'm like, man, so these are the people I need to meet and talk to now when I start thinking of business ideas. I think of a museum that may bring economy or tourism to the city. Now I'm dealing with the people that I really need to know, but it ain't many of us there. And we really can't let everybody else know that these people are there. So, it gets to a point where, you start realizing that we still got a ways to go on really understanding what's important for our survival, or to just even be a part of the whole community that exists in the United States. We to a certain extent, we disenfranchise ourselves based on the values that we have and the things that we participate in.
Absolutely. Let it talk to me, brother.
I mean, I think people really understand. I hear what is being said. However, I've made comments before. Business is business. If you're not educated and don't know how business works, you need to go find out. You need to go get you a book from the library or something to help you understand what is actually going on while you're at your leisure. People who want something working, people who want something doing something about it. It's more than one way to skin a cat. And folks ain't gonna always feel your passion. They just not. You can talk to you blue in the face. They're not gonna feel your passion. And thinking that people are interested in the same thing because they're the same color as you, it's not gonna happen like that. It's only gonna happen by individual and collective responsibility. Individuals coming from a certain place have to link and network with other people about their particular agenda. And that's how you move together on your issues, not your skin color. That's gonna break down. Because I may have the same skin color as you, but you make 100,000 and I'm on assistance. I can't see your vision.
Yeah.
Because you're on the investment side of the game. It takes people that have that balance where they see, okay, if I want to build something in this neighborhood, what am I going to do to give back? Or it takes a person to be able to come in and say, yeah, I could make a lot of money, but my reputation going to be damaged. See, a lot of politicians, they want to get in a position so they can control and shape and mold the city. And they may go along with the corporate interest. And that corporate interest may not have a social margin benefit on the priority list at all. So while you're talking about, okay, like one of my mixed plans, it would be, well, if they can't have the prime real estate, which makes sense, subsidized housing needs to move to the outskirts of town. Okay? Because the cost of maintaining it inside of town run investors away. They run people who would like to move to that area away. So you're going to have to do something to break it up. And if I'm paying your rent, guess where you're going to live? Where I tell you you're going to live.
Wow.
Okay. So and then once you do that, you have to move social services around those areas as well. Because if those people need social services, are they going to have to try to get back to the city to get it where the office is? Or why you think all these new social security offices start popping up? So folks don't have to go into the city to go to social security office. So, things can work. But if you're not at the table, they'll make the decisions, and their whole plan for you is to get rid of you. Not hear
Mm-hmm.
what you got to tell you. Well, we'll have a meeting between 10 in the morning and 11 o'clock about it while y'all at work.
Mm-hmm. And have no
Because
say
we
so.
invest, because we investors. We ain't got to work. We ain't got to be nowhere, but we'll be at that meeting to get that
Mm-hmm.
city council vote to do what we need to do. And that's the game. Is being involved. School district, like right now, one plan they tried to destroy Clayton County. Remember that? They took away
Mm-hmm.
Clayton County public transportation just about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then they took away their high school accreditation. Come on now.
Mm-hmm.
They took away the accreditation from the school and everything. Now I'm just looking at an article talking about a $300 million investment in Marlin. Right
Mm.
back to that same area. We protested to get the transit back and everything. Oh, by the way, Clayton County, y'all remember Clayton County when this last election? How important those votes were?
Mm-hmm.
Votes
Mm-hmm.
matter. Okay, how much money you got? Votes
Exactly.
matter. So they spending money to encourage you to vote a certain way. They spending money to encourage people in positions of authority who actually vote to vote a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give you a cut if you vote like this. Now I'm gonna support your campaign. I'm gonna get you on the city council. But when it come up to the vote about this land use, that's when I'm gonna need my payback. That's what
Big.
money do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Money
Exactly.
don't vote. People vote.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend all this money to encourage people to vote the way I want them to vote. That's what that money is for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get a good people in there, younger people that understand that we got to have a balanced approach to progress. Displacement is going to happen because there'll always be a certain amount of people that don't want to go nowhere and don't want to do nothing. There are certain
Mm-hmm.
people that's okay with the prostitution and stuff going on in their neighborhoods and everything that. Don't for 1 minute believe that everybody wants to live like you live.
Exactly.
Don't believe
Exactly.
don't believe
Mm-hmm.
it because it's not the same. Everybody don't have the same interest because they black. It's just
Mm-hmm.
not. That's why if you came together over an issue, you'll find out that there are people who are not black that have the same issue as you. And those people could very well be your allies. So it looks like a balanced approach to solving the problem, as except you've been to some meetings where, wait a minute, ain't not one black person in that room.
Mm-hmm.
They got 100 people standing behind this guy getting ready to sign this bill, and ain't nobody standing behind him black. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
they signing a bill about abortion. Ain't not one woman in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
If you let them do that, they will do that. That's why it's so important. You see somebody asked about what Stacey Abrams was doing.
Yeah.
And you see where her organization, Fair Fight, which all they do is fight for people's right to vote, access to the polls, and all that. The money that she raised in her previous campaign, she donated $1.34 million just to help people with medical bills.
Mm.
For you know why? Because our governor did not want to accept expansion for federal funding for Medicaid programs.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. This public citizen, and this is something you kind of spoke briefly on this. Read that, Leonard.
How about we make school more relevant for students by including business education and things that will help kids look toward the future? If you go to these schools, you'll find out it's already there. Charter schools are a lot of times funded by business interests. You have business classes for certain kids in different programs that they can be a part of. And you have to understand if you can teach people all you want, but if they don't have a desire to do it, they're not going to do it. This is
Mm-hmm.
a place where people, if you come down, one reason why people used to love to come to Atlanta from different places is because you see all of the business ownership and wealth of black people here
Mm-hmm.
taking advantage of opportunities. You don't know what it's like when you living in a local area and you ain't never seen a sister do the news.
Mm.
Whereas you turn on the TV in the city of Atlanta and the majority of the local people you see, it's mixed.
Mm-hmm.
You're not used to seeing black people do certain things when they come to Atlanta. So you be like, man, I'm gonna move to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, because it's supposed to be like the new Mecca, whereas DC used to be. Then you got developing Charlotte and going up this corridor here on the East Coast. But you can make your city just like that with enough support. But if you keep thinking that the people got to be the same color as you, you're gonna miss. Look at
You miss.
Master P. Look at all the stuff you see now. When Master P was talking about he gonna be in these grocery stores, he wasn't just talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
That dude got his products and them labels on his packages in them grocery stores.
Mm-hmm. Rico, can you read that right there? The public citizen.
I work at a public charter school. I'm a union member. Some charters are good, some bad. That's true. The research shows that they are not necessarily better, but I agree that public and private partnerships can be great.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say? What do you say to that, Rico?
Yeah, that's true. You know, and Leonard said it. I mean, they are teaching that in school. It's just the fact that in some schools it's not important because they don't see people that look like them as the producers. They only see people that look like them as consumers most of the time. So they ain't got time. Even with politics, you know, when we speak about the vote, like we said, that vote is important. But then when you get out of school and then you start having arguments with people that look like you about black people don't need to vote, you wonder, well, wait a minute, where's that coming from?
Mm-hmm.
What you thinking about? We took government together, you know, but you did fail. I mean, you did have a problem in government now, you know what I'm saying? And I get it because, you know, in image wise, see, we are very visual people. You know,
That dude said you did fail.
we are very visual people, and sometimes it's hard for us to relate to seeing a whole bunch of white men, you know what I'm saying, doing all these laws. When you think about history, a lot of black people don't do good in history because history is all about a whole lot of white people that sooner or later you find out they shouldn't be honored.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it's hard for you to concentrate when you can't relate to these people. It's hard for you to grasp onto this American story. So now when it comes to government and economics, it's hard for you to grasp onto this American story if you don't see a place for you to actually think that you got an opportunity to have an impact or to actually be successful in it. See, now if you got a dream of being a businessman like George Jefferson, you get what I'm saying? You probably would pay attention to business. You probably would be the only black person in that class, while everybody else taking welding and graphic arts, horticulture. They, you know, they probably taking something easy, getting an easy credit. You might be taking economics. You might go ahead and take pre-cal. There's so many different things that you'll make that effort to take because you have that. You can relate to seeing where you want to go to get to where you want to get. But see, if you don't have all those ambitions, you might just be thinking, you know what, man, I'm gonna get me a job at the Honda plant. You ain't studying no economics. You ain't studying no government. Now here it is. You got your job at the barbershop. You making good money. You cutting plenty of hair, and you got it going on because you dress nice and you can buy what you want. Now in the barbershop, you getting a lot of, you know what I'm saying, knowledge and wisdom, and somebody now telling you that going to college is a waste of time and voting is a waste of time, and you a coon if you telling people to vote. Don't you take your children to that barbershop no more.
Yeah.
They talking stupid in there. You get what I'm saying? So, you know, it's taught in these schools. It is taught. It's just that some people didn't relate and they didn't care to even try to relate to it or comprehend because they couldn't relate to what they saw.
Exactly.
Only a few people really had a true vision. But that vote, man, I mean, and then you hear people say, well, when I vote you in office, it's up to you to do your job. I shouldn't have to keep in touch with you. Nope. You better vote and then be consistent and participate. Hold your person that you voted accountable for the reasons that you voted him in. Because if they get in there and start doing something totally opposite and you ain't paying attention, you might vote him in again the next 4 years because that's the man that everybody's supporting.
Exactly. We got about 5 minutes before we get out of here. I want to touch a few people, so everybody give me a quick version. Toussaint, good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Doing well, man. I was listening in. You know, if you don't have nothing to say, it's good to listen.
There you go. There you go.
That's
Oh,
what I've been doing.
good deal. Good. Hey, good to have you, brother.
Rico is covering what needs to be said.
There you go.
Good morning, brother.
Hey, good morning. Good
Morning.
morning
Grand
to you,
Rising, Grand Rising, y'all.
Bishop. Anything on your heart this morning? What's on your heart, brother?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, man. I'm like Tucson and sorry with the T. Leonard and Rico, man, they broke it down. I
Mm-hmm.
ain't got nothing else to say.
Good
I
deal.
appreciate hearing what they said. They
Mm-hmm.
gave us information that is so valuable, and I hope the listeners are really listening, paying attention, because we got educated today. And I really appreciate these two guys, particularly because the way they talked and broke things down. Thank y'all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Curtis, what's on your heart, brother?
Well, I just wanted to say these three things in one sentence apiece. One, if we want to do a study or take a look at how to fight against this, a good example would be to look at what Charles Ringel did in Harlem when they call themselves trying to buy up Harlem and re-gentrify Harlem. That's one. Look at what he did. Two, if you get a chance, go on YouTube. It's probably on YouTube now because it was years ago. This thing came out like almost 20 years ago. Bombs Over Baghdad. It's a documentary. It is a powerful, powerful documentary that explains basically redlining without calling it redlining, but it connects the dots all the way back to about, I want to say about 20 years prior to 20 to 40 years prior to the Vietnam War. So it connects it all back to there. And it gives us some story about Colin Powell that nobody ever knows. They never talk about some very powerful information. Three, last but not least, I just want to say that I hope everybody have a wonderful day. And to deny anybody access is to deny everybody justice. To deny anybody access is to deny everybody justice. That's all I want to say, Ryan.
Good deal. Good deal. Toya with a T. Anything on your heart?
Great show as usual, y'all. Have a good day.
Good deal. Good deal. Leonard,
Sorry.
talk to me. What's on your heart, brother, before we get out of here?
It was a good show. I hope people get involved. Remember, local elections are coming up in a lot of places. I think what they call a Super Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's November 2nd. That is the actual election day to vote. I hope you take advantage of early voting if you can't make it on that day. But we've already seen in some places where they changed polling locations and things like that. So go in and verify your information. Usually it's on the Secretary of State website. My voter page is here in Georgia on the Secretary of State website, where you can go and verify to make sure your address and things are correct and your polling precinct.
Good deal. Rico?
Yeah, I want to shout out Regina, man, because she came in and gave some very good points. And man, I could have went another hour just off of what she said, and I didn't even get to, touch on it. But I hope it doesn't get past anybody, like the things she said about the people living together and buying homes together and investing with each other. Man, that's a thing that happens amongst a group of people that like she said, we don't do, and that's something that we probably can go deeper into, because I don't think a lot of people in the Black community understand that is a system that exists amongst other cultures of people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rico, what's going on at 3:00 today, sir?
If you missed today's show and would like to tune in and catch the replay of it, tune in at www.dklmediagroup.com.
Good deal. Good deal. Bishop, the good Bishop.
I'm right here.
Pray us out, sir.
Righteous Father in heaven, we come before you first now. We thank you, Lord God, for today. Thank God for watching over us. We slept through the night. And Lord God, allowing us to have use and activity of our land. We ask, Father God, if you will, bless this world, bless those who stand in need of a spiritual touch from you, Lord. Elevate the mind, touch their hearts. Bless those on the bed of affliction, those in the hospital. Bless those who have lost loved ones, comfort their hearts and minds, Lord God. And if you will, continue to bless DKM Media Group. Bless Raheem, Lord God, and his vision to move forward and keep them up in your care, Father God. This prayer we pray in your name, Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Captain Leonard, give us some today is Friday. Give us some words to live by for the weekend, brother. Before we get back here Monday.
Don't do anything that will keep you from showing up on Monday.
There you go. There you go. Okay, we'll keep it. We'll keep it right there. We'll keep it right there. Good deal. Good deal. I want to thank everybody for joining us. And more than that, I want to thank you for allowing DK, your media group, and associates, and the Morning Glow for being a part of your morning. It is now 10:01. You're about to exit the Morning Glow. But before you go, I want you to do me two favors, if you will. One, I want you to continue to pray for us because we're certainly praying for each and every one of you. Number two, why this is real simple. I want you to go out there, find somebody, and give them a hug because you never know. It could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. Love you, and ain't nothing you could do about it. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. And we shine some of this light on you from the Morning Glow. Take it out there into this wicked and cruel world that we live in and let your light so shine. You get an opportunity to give somebody some love. You just might find some love in return. Won't that be a beautiful thing? Have a great weekend. Take care of each other, and please be blessed.